I decided I'm going to say yes to this because it's a good growth opportunity. So practiced and practiced, got ready for the show. I get there, and like you said, it's themed. And so our basket, I open my basket and I see a giant hamburger, which was a cake, shaped like a hamburger. There was ice cream, which was actually mashed potatoes, onion rings, which were actually Twizzlers dipped in white chocolate and rolled in graham cracker crumbs, and then just chicken tenderloin was the one normal ingredient in there. And again, I'd said I'd practiced, and so I knew if I got chicken, I was going to make this sauce or this sauce to go with the chicken. And as soon as I opened that basket, all of that planning and preparation went out the window.
Welcome to Motivational Monday, conversations with me, David Ibarra, and my special guest, Charlotte Shores. Welcome.
Thank you, David. So excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. And now I want to jump right in it and talk to you about exactly what it is that you do. You have a specialty, I understand, that's located out of Park City.
Yes.
Tell me all about it.
So I have a personal chef services business. I started it about 9 years ago, went to culinary school, did the whole thing, decided I loved the idea of being an entrepreneur, wanted to start my own business. And I actually started with desserts first. And that was kind of around the time that Pinterest became
Now,
really
the name
popular.
of it was Desserts First?
Oh, well, it wasn't
I like the idea of that because you ought to have your dessert first.
I know, right? I think The Rock said that in the movie. I like my dessert first. So, but I called it Sugar by Charlotte. And what I did originally was I would do dessert catering. So I would rent commercial kitchen space when I needed it. And so then I didn't have to deal with overhead or a storefront. And that kind of was a really safe way for me to dip my toes into the business ownership world. But like I said, Pinterest became really popular. So did the DIY movement. And so then I was making these desserts and cakes for people and making maybe $2 to $3 an hour. And I said, this is not okay. My time is worth a lot more than that, as is everyone's.
Certainly.
And so in 2016, I switched to the personal chef side. And I have been going up to Park City ever since. I do a lot of in-home fine dining. That's kind of my specialty. So dinner parties, or for example, I just got done doing a 6-week gig with a family where I did breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and everything plated, just really high end.
You traveled with them, or did they come to visit for 6 weeks and want you there every day?
They came here. So a Houston family came here because they love Park City and, Utah in general, which they should. It's amazing here.
Certainly is.
But yeah, that's
that sounded like a Deer Valley family.
So the Colony, actually. So that's still ski in, ski out, that's, up there close
Very
enough, like
cool.
in Park City. Not Park City Mountain, the canyons. Anyways, yeah.
Now, I want to jump back to the very beginning and tell us your story about where you were raised, a little bit about your background. When did the idea of you wanting to be a business person start to enter your head, and what caused all that?
Yeah. So I grew up in a very large family. There were 6 of us, and 5 of the 6 children were adopted, which was really fun. So I have a very diverse family, a lot of different opinions, a lot of different personality types. My dad was in the Army, so we moved around a lot. So I kind of grew up all over the United States, from Oregon and Montana to Maryland, Iowa, so West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, all the places. And I remember being about 2.5, maybe 3 years old, and I wanted to make my sisters a sandwich. So I made a peanut butter sandwich, which to me meant peanut butter on one side, butter on the other, slap it together. And I said, here you go. They wouldn't eat it. I wouldn't eat it either. But I remember being so offended that they did not want to eat this sandwich that I'd made them. And from then on, it just seemed like all I did was cook for people. It was how I showed them love. And by the time I got to high school, that's kind of around the time that you do those kind of aptitude tests where they say, hey, you would do well in the nursing industry or the service industry. And I'm a helper by nature. And so I fell into that category. And I always thought, okay, well, I want to be a chef. I want to do something with that.
Wow, you had that. You knew what you wanted by the time you were in high school.
Yes. Yep.
That is very unusual. Only about 3% of our society know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, that's the first step of a great entrepreneur, is to know that early in their lives.
That makes sense. So as I moved forward, my dad, he was a doctor, and I remember him telling me, "You can't be a chef. Chefs don't make any money." And so I said, "Watch me.
There you go. Challenge on.
Yeah, I'll find a way." But in culinary school, I had gotten married about a year and a half before I started culinary school. And as my husband and I were talking about when we wanted to start a family and whatnot, I realized, because also I was a server for years and years, and I was a good server. So I wouldn't come home till midnight on the weekend or on the weeknights, and 2 to 3 in the morning on the weekends. So I didn't see my husband. And I knew if I opened a restaurant, which is what I ultimately wanted to do years before, I was like, I will never see my family. I'll never see my husband. That sounds miserable. So, so I had to kind of pivot and reframe.
Well, it just means you won't be married long.
Yeah, that too. And marriage was important to me.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing.
I chose marriage over, having a restaurant. But so I decided that's kind of when I'm like, well, I really love desserts. I was always making desserts for people. So maybe I do a high-end dessert shop. And so that will fit a little bit better with my schedule. But I also knew I wanted to open my own. It was just something I wanted to do things my way. I wanted it to work for me and my brain. And I have ADHD, and so my brain goes a million miles an hour in all different directions. And I do remember once hearing a TED Talk that said people with ADHD it's over 300% more likely to start their own businesses because
and 1/4 of our society by their temperament trait naturally have that eclectic thought where they never have one thought in their brain or conversation at a time. Yeah. It's multiple. And it is the ones that are most creative.
So
you fit in that category.
I know. And so it was like, this makes so much sense. And it felt very validating, because sometimes I think, wouldn't it be so much easier to just work for someone, to have someone tell you what to do all the time? In my head, I think that does sound better, but also I know it doesn't. And I don't want that. I want to be my boss. So
want to be in charge of your own destiny.
I do. Yep. So started with the desserts, switched the personal chef services. Here we are. Clearly, I do not have a storefront, and that's okay. It ended up not working out in the way that I never tried to open it. It just kind of never fit in the path that my family ended up taking. But I am so happy with my personal chef services business. The people I get to meet, what I get to do, how flexible it is. It's just perfect.
Tell me a little bit about when you started the dessert part of it, the first entry into business. Tell me about some of the things that you liked and enjoyed, maybe making the desserts, but what did you learn that wasn't the fun part of being in business?
Well, David, especially when you were in a business field that is so subjective. I remember I would have these brides. I did a lot of wedding cakes because I'd spent a lot of time doing cake decorating. And so I would get a lot of brides because I wasn't charging a ton. And they would show me these pictures of these beautiful wedding cakes. Now, these were $10,000 wedding cakes, and I was charging them $350. So I'm like, you cannot expect me to make you this $10,000 cake when I'm charging you this much. My skill is not that high. It is whatever. But having people be disappointed in you, for me as I wouldn't consider myself a people pleaser anymore, but as somebody who does like to make people happy and do that, through my work, it was very hard. So that was probably the first thing with the business side that was hard for me, was having people be disappointed in you and not think that what you do is necessarily up to what they expect of you. Now, I mentioned I was renting the commercial kitchen space when I needed it and all those things. So it didn't feel like a risk at all. There wasn't, besides paying taxes, there wasn't a lot of things that I had to take care of that I feel like a traditional business owner might have to. And so it really wasn't until I started doing more that the things like filing taxes or, kind of that side, because
doing
my brain
your
doesn't.
accounting.
Yeah, the accounting. Thank you.
All
I did not love that. I wasn't super great at, with the advertising, like putting myself out there saying, hire me because I am the best. I didn't ever feel comfortable necessarily saying
it's interesting that people that get into business at first don't realize the different components, the different things that come into play. Marketing, advertising, accounting,
Yeah.
paying taxes,
Yes.
having team members join you.
Yeah,
And
it's like
then
management.
they find out they came in to do one thing, maybe make desserts, and then they
Mm-hmm.
find out 80% of their time is doing the things that they don't enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's when they decide they have to have an adjustment and maybe create a bit of a team to have some people do the things you don't enjoy or love so you can do what you love.
Yeah. No, that's
So,
so important.
how did you shift and what made you shift out of that? Was it the money part, not achieving what you wanted money-wise, to go into the full-fledged, I'm going to 6 weeks, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the menu is business?
Yeah.
At what age do you wish you had unlocked the principles that lead to success? Where do you think you'd be today if you had learned them as a child? Yes, Our Kids Can is a program developed at Harvard and tested in San Antonio's school systems, designed to give children of all backgrounds the opportunity to plant the seeds for future success, using learning techniques they understand and enjoy. Through engaging animated stories, fun sing-along songs, and interactive games, Yes, Our Kids Can teaches your child the empowering, success-driven principles needed to reach their full potential. Don't miss this opportunity to give your children the future they deserve. Yes, Our Kids Can is available now on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Sign up today and help make your child's dreams a reality.
A lot of it was money, but again, I had said earning $2 to $3 an hour is not.
No.
It's not, one, it's not lucrative. Two, it's not fun. And I had a newborn at the time, and so I was working in the middle of the night. So not only was I not sleeping, I was not getting paid. And I was just like, this is not fun. This is not fun anymore. I don't like this. And I loved what I did, but I also wanted to get paid for it and still enjoy. And I don't mind working hard. I'm a hard worker, but when you're not getting sleep and you're not getting paid, kind of that combination just.
Well, that can turn into a negative real quick.
Right. Yep.
Right.
So I told myself, okay, what would be more profitable that I would still enjoy? What could I do that's a little bit different than what I'm doing now that isn't a storefront, since, again, really young children, it was not a good fit. And so that's when I switched to the personal chef services. And I remember also when I first started that, I kind of started down in the Salt Lake area. And David, my first dinner party that I did, I charged $50 a person for a 4-course meal, and there were only 4 guests. My ingredients were $185. So I made $15 for all of that work.
You went to a cost plus business quickly. And with a rate for you, the theme that I'm going to bring and the personality and the show, real quick, you probably made a little adjustment on your charging then.
I did. Yep. It was, food costs was easy with desserts. I knew what to expect. I had that kind of down. And so switching to the personal chef side, I'm like, oh, well, I'll get there eventually. I buy groceries for my family all the time. It can't be that much different. And when you're doing high-end kind of fine dining style food, it definitely was. And so I realized, really quickly I had to charge more. And then I also realized the people I was advertising to and that clientele base were not interested in paying more. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to lower my costs. So I don't live up in Park City. It's actually almost an hour drive for me to get there, but that's where my clientele base is now. So I had to make that adjustment and account for not only the time, but.
So how long did it take you to figure out the cost structure for it to be fun, for it to be rewarding, and for it to be a benefit for the person that is the end user?
Yeah, my clients.
How long did it take?
It really didn't take too long. I would say it was under a year, so my cost or my price structure changed pretty drastically. I changed the platforms that I was using to advertise on. I changed, again, who I was advertising to, started working. I learned how to work with home concierges versus, hotels, and things like that. So it was under a year before I felt like, okay, I'm making good money. I can afford to have a good quality staff, people to work with me, and my clientele felt well taken care of, and they felt like it was a good, a good investment.
How many team members do you have with your organization? Do you, when you go out and typically serve an event, whether it's a Christmas party, whether it's a gathering at a vacation, and there's 20 people, how many would be involved in delivering the service for that?
Yeah. So
More than you, I'm assuming.
yes, for sure. So I remember I always said I never wanted to go into catering because I hated the idea of trying to keep food warm for 100 people or have it be as high quality as what I wanted to serve. So I decided to cap my business at I wouldn't ever serve more than 30 people. But when I first started, I remember even for a dinner party for 10, I would have 3 helpers with me. So there's 4 of us in the kitchen. Now, again, that was 9 years ago. Now I'm down to, if it's a dinner party for 10, there's me and I have 1 server who takes care of the front of the house part of it. So for 20 people, I probably have, 2 to 3 servers, depending on how needy isn't necessarily the right word. I have certain clients who are very particular with what they want, how fast they want things out or whatnot. So I adjust my staff
I bet you
based
run
on
into
that.
some real different kind of personalities.
Yes, I do. But, for the most part, I'm very thankful that
Good.
people who come up to Park City are very kind and just like salt of the earth. I mean, they might, make $1 billion a year, but they are incredibly courteous and kind to those who work around them.
I believe this is true in that if a good person is fortunate enough to become wealthy, then that just makes them a better person. Yeah. If a person that doesn't have a pleasing personality makes a lot of money, then that just makes them more unpleasant.
That is very true. Yeah, I never really looked at it like that. It makes perfect sense, though.
So how is your structure now if somebody were to call you and want something for 10 people? Share with our folks that are watching this that how do they structure that? What can they expect? How does it go about? Is it on your website or is there a formula? What can they expect? Share
So
that.
I have, a few, like, for example, sample menus on my website. I let you know how to get a hold of me, kind of what to expect. Bare bones, it's not bare bones information on the website, but it's more, if you want to find out more, you need to contact me. And so then when they do, that's when I kind of send out, okay, well, here's what it would cost. And then this is everything that it's inclusive of. We can provide wine pairings, the service, the setup, the cleanup, all that. If you want extras, if you want us to do floral arrangements, if you want a bartender, so on and so forth, this is how much more it's going to cost. But also menus vary a little bit. So I can't say that everything is going to be X amount per person because they might say, well, we'd like to add on caviar now, or we would like to actually switch from just your dry aged,
you went
prime
from
steak
$50
to Wagyu.
a plate for an average nice dinner of 10. How many thousands would it be?
Oh, well, it's, a couple. So
typically your minimum is going to be a couple of thousand for 10. Would I be in this price? And they're probably going to spend very close to a couple of thousand at a fine dining restaurant and not have the ability to have the conversation or the closeness that they would at a vacation home or their home.
Yeah.
So in some cases it can be very comparable to a fine dining restaurant.
Yeah. So that's why I call it in-home fine dining experiences. Cool. And so I love that. And sometimes though people will say, well, I can go to this restaurant in Park City for less than that. I'm like, yes, you can, but this is a luxury service and I'm bringing it to you. Yeah. And so, and again, I've learned I don't like using the word weed out, but say no, not expend my energy on people who don't value my time.
Sure.
And so because at first I'd be like, yes, I will make this work for you. And then that's when it's not enjoyable. And that's when I'm sacrificing some of my integrity, my time, my family's time, my talent.
If it's not good for everybody, then it don't work. It's got to be good for you. It's got to be good for the guests. It's got to be good for your team members and everybody involved, or it's just not going to be a fun experience.
Yeah. And when you find those people, it all just fits and nobody questions, they don't question your worth. They don't question what you're offering. And so
well, all of us have been, I'll never forget, everybody was a friend of Walter.
I loved Walter.
But Walter, I would have our Christmas dinners there and Walter would come and talk. He'd give us all our books and signatures. And I've been going there for years, but I don't ever remember, hey, Walter, you just decide what we're doing. And he would cook and bring out the pots and, put them right on the plates. And what an experience. I don't ever remember looking at the price. You just sign it.
Yeah.
Because when it's that good, you really, truly just don't look because it's that good. When it's not that good, then you do examine the cost.
Like, what am I paying for this?
But it's funny with Walter, you enjoyed it, and if you have to get used to being kissed on both sides, both cheeks. But what a character he was!
He was,
and I'll never forget that was the king of theming. Oh man, did he have it down! Walters.
I have never been to a restaurant before or since where I felt like I was in someone's home, that I was being cared for in the same way that Walter did.
And he knew your name. He would know your name. Now, talking about theming, I understand that you had an opportunity to compete on a television show, I think episode 58, called Chopped.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So that was a really, really cool experience. I was approached by the Food Network to see if I was interested on being on the show. And it wasn't really my cup of tea, if we're going to be honest. I do really well in high-paced, fast in situations. But when you throw a lot of different things at me and then say, go and create something in 20 minutes, that scares me. So I decided I'm going to say yes to this because it's a good growth opportunity. So practiced, got ready for the show. I get there, and like you said, it's themed. And so I open my basket, and I see a giant hamburger, which was a cake, shaped like a hamburger. There was ice cream, which was actually mashed potatoes, onion rings, which were actually Twizzlers dipped in white chocolate and rolled in graham cracker crumbs, and then just chicken tenderloin was the one normal ingredient in there. And again, I'd practiced. And so I knew if I got chicken, I was going to make this sauce or this sauce to go with the chicken. And as soon as I opened that basket, all of that planning and preparation went out the window. And I'm like, what do I do? Okay, cake. I can turn that into breadcrumbs. I'm going to bread this chicken. I'm going to make a play on chicken piccata because I can throw the mashed potatoes in the sauce. And, so I kind of just went to work with that. And I remember getting ready for this experience, I said, I really, really I do not want to be chopped first. I want them to love my food, and I want to get everything on the plate in time. Well, I ended up getting chopped first, and they didn't love my food. But I got everything on the plate. But I remember the guy next to me, he served them raw chicken. And so I don't know if you've seen the episode, but I remember as they're talking about it, we're all thinking, oh, well, he's definitely going home because you can't serve raw chicken, especially on a national television.
Well, and expect the host not to get sick.
Yes. So I remember thinking, because as I'm cooking and doing all the things, I wanted to blend up my sauce at the very end. And they're like, chefs, you have 1 minute left. And I realized I'm not going to have time to blend this sauce, but it's okay. I chopped up the licorice real small. So the sauce tastes like lemon and garlic and salt and wine and cream, all the good things. It tastes great. So I plated up. It looks beautiful. I think it looks beautiful. It's kind of one of my signature plating styles. And so again, I serve it, and they're like, your chicken is perfectly cooked. The salad you served it with is perfectly paired, all the things. But your sauce, there's chunks in there, and it's too garlicky and too caper forward. And they just tore my sauce apart. And I just had to sit there like, okay, thank you. And so, got chopped, got sent off.
But of course, half of the theme of being chopped is the being chopped.
Yes, yeah. So it's part of the...
And then making the viewers, I feel so sorry for the individual that's being chopped.
And so it was funny reading the comments online afterwards. People were like, in all my 14 years of watching Chopped, I've never seen raw chicken make it through. So I had, America's heart for that. So that's good. But they do a really good job of talking to you about how, just remember that this experience doesn't define you. It doesn't define your worth or value as a chef. It's reality television.
Right.
And so that was helpful because I did afterwards. I cried and I'm like, why didn't they like me? But I'm like, it's not me. I still have clients. People were booking me that day. I got 2 jobs. I was in New York in December, so people were calling me.
The exposure is great.
Yes.
And
so now.
And the experience. I mean, if you don't, if you don't have the emotions to, okay, how am I going to pivot and make this a positive? It's great. But man, just being on the program,
Yeah,
that was a win.
quite an honor. And it was a good, like I said, resilience builder, and good to think, this isn't define me. And it just built more character. And like I said, now I get more clientele because I can put on my resume that I was on Chopped.
Exactly. And before we end today, I want to know a little bit about your formal training. You had brought up that you went to culinary school. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I went to culinary school in Washington State, so that's where I spent the majority of my childhood. I actually wanted to go to the New York Culinary Institute over in New York because you could do a 12-week internship in Europe, but that was also around the time that I'd met my husband. And I also was raised to not be in debt, and so that was going to be like an $80,000 two-year experience, whereas if I went to a technical college, I had earned enough scholarship dollars to cover all of my schooling. And I really, really appreciated where I went because I was top 3 in the nation for culinary schools and for like tech programs. And my instructors had gone to the CIA. They were from Europe. They had world-class experience. And so I felt like I got a world-class education and I didn't have to go into debt for it. So
with the individual we had on the program last week, Alfonso Brito, just got back from spending 3 months in Spain working for a high-end chef at a restaurant just to get the experience. And he told me it was like being in the military.
Yeah, those fine dining kitchens can be very brutal.
Well, as we're closing, tell us, how do they get a hold of you? And I'm hoping that... well, I know this. I know one person is going to get a hold of you for an event. That will be me.
Yes.
And I can promise you that because I want to experience it one time at my home. Yeah, so tell them, how do they get a hold of you and look further in having a personal chef at their home for an event?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, which is just charlotteshores.com, and so that lists all of my contact information. If you are a very visual person, like I like to, I tend to be, you can look at my Instagram or Facebook pages, so chef.charlotte.shores, and so again, that's the easiest way to find me and to contact me.
Well, perfect. Well, as a gift for being on our program, I want to give you a copy of my book, Live Ready, Beyond Think and Grow Rich, and thank you for being on our program.
Thank you, David.